Introduction. Amelia grips her steering wheel until her knuckles turn white, staring at the apartment building where her boyfriend lived until she systematically dismantled their relationship brick by brick. The bitter irony isn't lost on her. She's simultaneously devastated that he's gone and relieved that she no longer has to navigate the suffocating terror of letting someone truly see her. 3 weeks ago, when he told her he loved her, she felt her entire nervous system go into overdrive. Her chest tightened, her breathing became shallow, and every cell in her body screamed, "Run." So she did what she always does. She picked a fight about something trivial, criticized his career choices, and then withdrew emotionally for days. When he finally packed his bags, she felt both vindicated and utterly destroyed. This is the 4th relationship that's ended this exact way. The pattern is so predictable she could write a manual. Meet someone wonderful, feel the intoxicating rush of new connection, gradually become terrified as intimacy deepens, create distance through criticism or emotional unavailability, feel abandoned when they inevitably leave, then spend months analyzing what went wrong while secretly planning to do it all over again. Tonight, sitting in her car outside his empty apartment, she makes a decision that will change everything. She's done being a prisoner to patterns that were carved into her nervous system decades ago. Your Accelerated Path to Secure Love. This book exists because traditional approaches to healing attachment wounds are failing people like Amelia, and perhaps people like you. The standard advice to just communicate better or work on your self-esteem completely misses the mark because fearful-avoidant attachment isn't a communication problem or a confidence issue. It's a nervous system problem that requires nervous system solutions. Most therapy approaches treat fearful-avoidant attachment as a thinking problem that can be solved through insight and behavioral changes. But here's what decades of attachment research have revealed. Your push-pull patterns aren't happening in your conscious mind. They're happening in the ancient, primitive parts of your brain that developed their protective strategies before you could even speak. This book provides a research-backed accelerated path to healing attachment wounds that goes straight to the source, your nervous system's learned patterns of connection and protection. Instead of spending years talking about your childhood, you'll learn to work directly with your body's stress responses and create new neural pathways that support secure attachment. The goal isn't just to understand why you push people away, it's to fundamentally transform your capacity for intimacy so that closeness feels safe instead of threatening. WHO This book serves. This book is specifically designed for adults caught in what I call the intimacy paradox, the exhausting experience of simultaneously craving and fearing deep connection. You might recognize yourself in these patterns. You're tired of the push-pull cycle that sabotages your relationships. You want to stay present during intimate moments instead of emotionally disappearing. You're ready for rapid, practical healing without years of traditional therapy. You've identified your fearful-avoidant patterns, but struggle to change them. Why this approach works. Most books about attachment focus on understanding your patterns or learning better communication skills. While insight is valuable, it doesn't address the root cause, a dysregulated nervous system that learned to associate intimacy with danger. This book combines cutting-edge neuroscience with ancient somatic wisdom. Recent advances in neuroscience have revealed exactly how attachment patterns are encoded in our nervous systems and how they can be rewired. You'll learn to work with your vagus nerve, regulate your autonomic nervous system, and create new neural pathways that support secure attachment. We focus on rapid transformation, not years-long processes. Your journey ahead. This book will take you on a carefully structured journey from understanding your patterns to embodying new ways of being in relationship. Chapters 1 to 3 map your unique fearful-avoidant blueprint and reveal the neuroscience behind your intimacy struggles. You'll understand exactly what's happening in your brain when love feels threatening. Chapters 4 to 6 provide the core healing work. You'll master somatic techniques for emotional regulation, learn to stay present during triggered states, and develop new communication strategies that create connection instead of distance. Chapters 7 to 9 focus on integration and application. You'll navigate relationships while healing, transform triggers into growth opportunities, and make new patterns stick through consistent practice. Chapter 10 paints the picture of your secure future, what life looks like when you can both give and receive love without losing yourself in the process. Your commitment to change. Before you begin this journey, understand that attachment healing happens in your body, not just your mind. This means you'll need to feel uncomfortable sensations and emotions as you rewire old patterns. This work requires consistent practice, patience with the process, and approaching your patterns with curiosity rather than judgment. Your fearful-avoidant patterns developed as brilliant survival strategies. Now it's time to update your nervous system software for the relationships you actually want. Your journey from fearful-avoidant to secure attachment isn't just possible, it's your birthright. Are you ready to begin? 1. The Invisible Prison, Mapping Your Fearful-Avoidant Blueprint. Mapping your fearful-avoidant attachment blueprint. Florence sat in her therapist's office, frustrated after another relationship had ended in the same predictable way. "I don't understand," she said, her voice breaking. "I wanted him close, but every time he tried to get closer, I found myself picking fights or creating distance. It's like I'm trapped in a pattern I can't see or control." What Florence was experiencing is the invisible prison of fearful-avoidant attachment, a complex emotional blueprint that operates largely below conscious awareness, dictating our relationship behaviors in ways that often contradict our deepest desires for connection. The fearful-avoidant attachment style, also known as disorganized attachment, creates an internal contradiction that feels like being simultaneously hungry and nauseous when offered food. Unlike other attachment styles that have consistent strategies, anxious attachment seeks closeness, avoidant attachment maintains distance. Fearful-avoidant individuals experience conflicting drives that create a chaotic internal landscape. This isn't a character flaw or a choice. It's a sophisticated survival system that your nervous system developed to navigate early relationships that were both necessary and threatening. Understanding your blueprint means recognizing these key patterns. The simultaneous craving and fear of intimacy. Your system learned that the people you needed most were also sources of pain, creating an approach-avoidance conflict that plays out in adult relationships. Inconsistent relationship behaviors. You may find yourself being intensely connected one day and emotionally distant the next, confusing both yourself and your partner. Hypervigilance to relationship threats. Your nervous system scans constantly for signs of abandonment or engulfment, often finding danger where none exists. David discovered his fearful-avoidant pattern during a particularly intense period with his girlfriend. He noticed that whenever she expressed deep love for him, his immediate internal response was panic, followed by an urge to find fault with the relationship. Through self-assessment, he recognized that his body would literally tense up during moments of tenderness, as if preparing for an attack. This awareness became the first step in his journey toward healing. Mapping your blueprint requires honest self-examination and patience with the contradictions you'll discover. In the next chapter, we'll explore the neurobiological mechanisms behind these patterns, understanding why your brain sabotages the very love you desperately seek. Your relationship defense system decoded. The conference room fell silent as Claire felt her chest tighten. Her business partner had just publicly praised her work, and instead of feeling proud, she felt exposed and vulnerable. Within minutes, she found herself mentally cataloging all the ways the project could fail, and began subtly undermining the very success she had worked so hard to achieve. This scenario illustrates how fearful-avoidant triggers often activate not during obvious threats, but during moments of visibility, success, or genuine appreciation, times when most people would feel safe and celebrated. Triggers for fearful-avoidant individuals are rarely the obvious relationship conflicts that might upset anyone. Instead, they're often the moments that should feel good, expressions of love, offers of support, invitations to be vulnerable, or even personal success. These triggers activate because your nervous system learned that visibility and closeness often preceded pain, abandonment, or overwhelming responsibility. Understanding your specific triggers is crucial because they're the entry points into your protective patterns, the automatic behaviors you use to create safety when your system perceives threat. Your defense system operates through three main trigger categories. Intimacy triggers, moments of deep connection, vulnerability, or emotional closeness that activate fear responses rather than feelings of safety and bonding. Success and visibility triggers, achievements, compliments, or positive attention that create anxiety rather than joy, often followed by self-sabotaging behaviors. Dependency triggers, situations where you need support or others depend on you, creating internal conflict between the desire for connection and fear of being trapped or abandoned. Jonathan worked with a coach to map his trigger patterns and discovered something surprising. His biggest trigger wasn't conflict with his wife, it was when she cooked his favorite meal or did something thoughtful for him. These acts of love would send him into a spiral of anxiety about owing her something or being trapped by her kindness. He developed a protective pattern of becoming critical or distant immediately after receiving care, which confused and hurt his wife. Once he could identify this pattern, he began to recognize the early warning signs in his body and could choose different responses. Recognizing these patterns is the foundation of change. In our next chapter, we'll explore the neurobiological mechanisms driving these responses. Your childhood blueprint for feeling safe. Marcus remembered being 7 years old, hiding in his closet while his mother sobbed in the next room after another explosive fight with his father. He had learned to be perfectly quiet during these episodes, knowing that any sound might redirect the chaos toward him. But he also remembered the confusing moments when his mother would come to him for comfort, making him feel simultaneously important and terrified. "You're the only one who really understands me," she would say, and he would feel proud and burdened in equal measure. These early experiences taught him that love came with chaos, that being needed was both a privilege and a trap, and that safety required constant vigilance and emotional management of others. The fearful-avoidant attachment style typically develops when children experience their primary caregivers as both sources of comfort and sources of fear or overwhelming need. This might occur through direct trauma, but more often it develops through subtler dynamics. A parent who is loving but unpredictably explosive, a caregiver who seeks emotional support from the child, or family systems marked by chronic stress, addiction, or mental health challenges. The child's developing nervous system learns that relationships are simultaneously essential and dangerous, creating internal strategies designed to navigate this impossible contradiction. Your childhood survival strategies likely included hypervigilance and emotional caretaking. You learn to monitor and manage others' emotional states as a survival strategy, often becoming highly attuned to subtle shifts in mood or energy. Premature independence. You developed advanced self-reliance skills while secretly craving the dependence that felt too dangerous to express. Emotional compartmentalization. You learn to split off parts of your experience, feeling love and fear, desire and revulsion, often for the same person or situation. Sarah grew up with a mother who struggled with severe depression, and a father who traveled constantly for work. She became her mother's confidant and emotional support system by age 10, listening to adult problems and trying to cheer her up. Simultaneously, she learned that her own needs for comfort often sent her mother deeper into despair, so she developed an elaborate system of being helpful while hiding her own emotional needs. As an adult, she found herself attracted to partners who needed her help, but then felt trapped and resentful when they actually depended on her, recreating the same impossible dynamic she had learned to navigate as a child. When fear hijacks real connection. Rebecca was lying in bed next to her boyfriend of 8 months, his arm draped casually over her waist. Suddenly, her heart began racing, her breathing became shallow, and every muscle in her body tensed. Her mind flooded with thoughts: "This is too much. I can't breathe. I need to get out." Within minutes, she had manufactured a reason to leave, despite the fact that moments earlier she had felt content and connected. The danger her system detected wasn't real. Her boyfriend was kind, respectful, and had never given her reason to fear him. But her nervous system couldn't distinguish between the vulnerability of intimate connection and the memory of past wounds. One of the most challenging aspects of fearful-avoidant attachment is that your threat detection system has been calibrated by early experiences where love and danger were intertwined. This means your nervous system often sounds alarm bells during moments of genuine safety and connection. Learning to distinguish between actual danger, situations where you're truly at risk of harm, and perceived threat, situations where your nervous system is responding to past wounds rather than present reality, is essential for breaking free from the invisible prison of automatic protective responses. The key skills for navigating this challenge include somatic awareness, learning to recognize the physical sensations of triggered states versus genuine intuition about unsafe situations. Timeline reality checking, developing the ability to distinguish between past experiences and present circumstances, recognizing when your emotional response belongs to a different time and place. Graduated exposure, slowly expanding your window of tolerance for intimacy and vulnerability in relationships that have proven themselves safe over time. Thomas worked with his therapist to develop what they called his time travel detector, a practice of pausing during moments of relationship panic to ask himself, "How old do I feel right now?" He discovered that during intimate moments with his wife, he would often feel like a frightened 8-year-old rather than a grown man in a loving marriage. This awareness helped him recognize when his fear responses were rooted in childhood experiences rather than present-day threats. Over time, he learned to comfort his inner child while making relationship decisions from his adult self, dramatically reducing the frequency and intensity of his push-pull patterns. Understanding these mechanisms prepares us for exploring the neurobiological foundations that drive these responses. 2. The neuroscience betrayal: why your brain sabotages love. When love feels like danger. Abigail had been dating Bradley for 3 months when something shifted. The closer he got, the more her chest tightened. What should have felt like love felt like suffocation. She found herself picking fights over trivial things: his choice of restaurant, the way he loaded the dishwasher, anything to create distance. She couldn't understand why her body was screaming danger when her mind knew he was safe. Your fearful-avoidant brain operates like a hypersensitive security system that can't distinguish between genuine threats and genuine love. When someone gets close, your neural pathways, carved deep by early experiences, interpret intimacy through the lens of past pain. The very thing you crave becomes the thing your nervous system flags as dangerous. This isn't just emotional drama. It's biology. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm center, learned early that closeness could mean hurt. Now it fires warning signals whenever someone tries to get near your emotional core. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking part, knows this person is safe and loving. The result is internal warfare between what you know and what you feel. The push-pull cycle from Chapter 1 makes perfect sense when you understand this neurological betrayal. Your attachment system desperately wants connection, but your threat detection system interprets that same connection as danger. You're literally caught between two competing survival mechanisms. Hypervigilance in intimate moments. Your brain scans for signs of rejection, abandonment, or engulfment, often finding evidence where none exists. Emotional flooding during closeness. Physical symptoms like rapid heartbeat, sweating, or feeling trapped occur when someone expresses deep affection. Misreading safety as danger. Your nervous system interprets consistent love as too good to be true, triggering protective withdrawal. Bradley described it perfectly. It's like my brain has a faulty smoke detector that goes off every time someone tries to cook me a meal. The alarm is so loud, I can't tell the difference between someone nurturing me and someone trying to burn the house down. Understanding this neural confusion is the first step toward healing it. In Chapter 3, we'll explore how these faulty alarm systems developed and why your brain learned to fear the very intimacy it craves. When intimacy triggers your brain's alarm. The amygdala hijack happens in milliseconds, faster than conscious thought. Sarah was lying in bed with her partner after an intimate evening when he whispered, "I love you so much." Instead of warmth, she felt panic flood her system. Her heart raced, her breathing became shallow, and she had an overwhelming urge to flee. Within seconds, she was picking a fight about his ex-girlfriend, completely hijacked by her fear response. The amygdala hijack occurs when your brain's alarm system takes control before your rational mind can intervene. During moments of emotional or physical intimacy, your fearful-avoidant brain perceives the vulnerability as life-threatening, flooding your system with stress hormones and activating fight-or-flight responses that make staying present nearly impossible. This isn't weakness. It's survival programming gone haywire. Your amygdala evolved to keep you alive by detecting threats instantly. For fearful avoidance, this ancient alarm system has learned to interpret love declarations, gentle touch, and emotional closeness as danger signals. The very moments that should feel safest trigger your most primitive defenses. Lightning-fast threat detection. Your amygdala processes potential threats 20 milliseconds faster than your conscious mind, meaning you're already in defensive mode before you realize what's happening. Stress hormone cascade. Cortisol and adrenaline flood your system during intimate moments, creating physical sensations of danger even when you're completely safe. Prefrontal cortex shutdown. The rational part of your brain that knows your partner is safe goes offline, leaving you operating from pure survival instinct. Edward learned to recognize his amygdala hijacks through physical sensations. My jaw would clench, my vision would narrow, and suddenly I'd be looking for the exit, literally and figuratively, he explained. During one particularly tender moment when his girlfriend was sharing her feelings about their future together, he noticed his hands starting to shake, and his mind racing with thoughts like, "She's going to trap me, and I need to get out of here." Understanding that this was his amygdala taking over, not his true feelings, became the first step in staying present during intimate moments instead of automatically shutting down. Recognizing these hijacks is crucial for breaking the push-pull cycle we mapped in Chapter 1. When words alone can't heal attachment. Rebecca had spent 2 years in traditional talk therapy, analyzing her childhood, understanding her patterns, and gaining insights into her fearful-avoidant attachment. She could articulate exactly why she sabotaged relationships and trace it back to her inconsistent caregiving. Yet when her boyfriend reached for her hand, she still pulled away. When he wanted to make weekend plans, she still felt suffocated. All the insight in the world couldn't stop her nervous system from hijacking her in moments of closeness. Traditional talk therapy operates primarily in the realm of conscious thought and verbal processing, but attachment wounds live in the deeper, non-verbal parts of your brain and nervous system. While understanding your patterns is valuable, it rarely translates into the automatic nervous system regulation needed to stay present during intimate moments. Your attachment system was formed before you had language, so it can't be healed through language alone. The invisible prison we mapped in Chapter 1 exists below the level of conscious awareness. Your fearful-avoidant patterns are stored as implicit memories, body sensations, muscle tension, and automatic responses that bypass your thinking brain entirely. When someone gets close, your nervous system reacts based on these stored experiences, not your current reality. Cognitive understanding versus nervous system healing. Knowing why you have attachment issues doesn't automatically regulate your fight-or-flight response during intimate moments. Top-down versus bottom-up approaches. Talk therapy works from thoughts down to feelings, but attachment healing requires working from the nervous system up to conscious awareness. Implicit memory activation. Attachment triggers activate body memories and sensations that exist below the threshold of verbal processing. Michael had a breakthrough when his therapist explained why years of traditional therapy hadn't changed his relationship patterns. "I could tell you everything about my attachment style, my childhood wounds, and my fear of intimacy," he said. "But when my girlfriend wanted to move in together, my body still went into full panic mode. I needed to learn how to work with my nervous system directly, not just talk about it." He discovered that his attachment wounds were stored in his body as physical sensations and automatic responses that required somatic and experiential approaches to heal, not just cognitive insight. Your nervous system's secret relationship playbook. Jessica always wondered why she could be completely fine one moment and then feel like she was drowning the next, especially in relationships. During a quiet dinner with her partner, she suddenly felt like the walls were closing in. Her breathing became shallow, she felt disconnected from her body, and she had an overwhelming urge to create conflict or leave entirely. She didn't understand that her nervous system had shifted into a completely different state in response to the intimacy of the moment. Polyvagal theory reveals that your nervous system has 3 distinct states that determine how you experience relationships: social engagement, safe connection; fight or flight, mobilized defense; and shutdown, immobilized defense. As someone with fearful-avoidant attachment, you likely cycle rapidly between these states during intimate moments, making consistent emotional presence nearly impossible without conscious nervous system regulation. Think of these as your relationship operating systems. Each state creates a completely different experience of the same moment. When your partner says, "I love you," your response depends entirely on which nervous system state you're in. In social engagement, you feel warmth and connection. In fight or flight, you feel trapped or suspicious. In shutdown, you feel nothing at all. Social engagement system. When your ventral vagus is activated, you can be present, curious, and emotionally available for intimate connection. Sympathetic activation. Your fight or flight system creates the push in your push-pull dynamic, generating conflict, criticism, or sudden need for space. Dorsal vagal shutdown. Your freeze response creates the emotional numbness, disconnection, and withdrawal that partners often experience as rejection. Thomas finally understood his relationship patterns when he learned about his nervous system states. "I'd be having a beautiful moment with my girlfriend, feeling connected and happy," he explained. Then something would shift. Maybe she'd mention meeting her parents or talk about our future, and I'd suddenly feel like I was trapped underwater. I'd go completely numb and start looking for reasons why the relationship wouldn't work. He realized he was dropping from his social engagement system into dorsal vagal shutdown, a protective mechanism that helped him survive inconsistent caregiving as a child, but was sabotaging his adult relationships. Understanding these shifts is your roadmap out of the invisible prison.